In the sprawling empire of Babylon, Alexander the Great stood unmatched. By the age of 32, he had conquered lands from Greece to India, commanding the respect and fear of the world. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the battles were over and the cheers faded, Alexander felt a strange emptiness. He had everything: power, riches, and glory. Yet something within him was unsettled. One evening, while his soldiers celebrated another victory, Alexander walked alone through his camp. He listened to the laughter and saw the joy on their faces, but he couldn't share in it. He asked himself, "Is this all there is to life? Is this what fulfillment feels like?" The next day, Alexander heard of a philosopher named Diogenes, known for his wisdom and simple life. Intrigued, Alexander decided to meet him. Diogenes lived under a tree in a small grove, owning nothing but a cloak and a wooden bowl. When Alexander arrived with his entourage, the philosopher was lying comfortably in the shade, soaking in the morning sun. Alexander approached and said with authority, "Wise Diogenes, I have conquered the world, yet I feel empty. Tell me, what more is there for me to achieve?" Diogenes looked up calmly, his eyes steady and unshaken by the presence of the great king. With a faint smile, he replied, "Conquered the world, have you? But tell me, Alexander, have you conquered yourself?" The question startled Alexander. For a man who had faced countless enemies and taken cities by storm, he had never thought of the battle within. Diogenes sat up and continued, "You can build an empire, but can you build peace within your heart? You can take control of lands, but can you control your desires? True greatness, Alexander, isn't about taking more. It's about knowing when you have enough." Alexander stood in silence. The words of the philosopher struck deeper than any sword. Here was a man with no wealth, no kingdom, and yet he seemed more content than the greatest conqueror in history. After a moment, Alexander knelt before Diogenes and said, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Diogenes chuckled softly, his tone filled with wisdom. "And if I were not Diogenes, I would still choose to be myself." Alexander left the grove that day, his heart heavy with thought. He continued his conquests, but the words of the philosopher lingered. He realized that no amount of land or treasure could fill the void within. True fulfillment, he learned, came not from conquering the world, but from finding peace within.